I'm Peter Kell, Commissioner at ASIC, and welcome to the FPA series on Bulletproof advice. So many of the FOFA reforms are about ensuring that conflicts of interest can either be removed or appropriately managed. So when we're looking at the way in which licensees and advisors deal with conflicts of interest, the sort of management arrangements they have in place, we'll be looking at the ways in which those arrangements deal with the best interest duty, with the client priority rules, and also with the remuneration structures that are in place. And if you've got those well managed, you're going to be fine.
Conflicts have to be avoided. If they're not avoidable, then they have to be managed, and you need to gain informed consent. Every profession has conflicts. We recognise that conflicts exist. The question is how you deal with them and what process you put in place to manage them. The code requires that professionals have an obligation to disclose those conflicts. Disclosure, continuous disclosure, both at the start and ongoing, are very important. Making sure the client actually understands what the conflict actually is, so that's very important as well. And getting the client to consent that those conflicts exist and they're happy to continue with you. So the main point is disclosure of those conflicts and making sure the client understands that they exist. Yeah, FOFA has identified that you need to prioritise the conflicts. So they obviously have confirmed they exist, and undoubtedly so in the industry they do exist. And the best interest duty in particular has replaced one of those requirements to actually prioritise the interests of your client over your own in respect to those conflicts. They've also addressed it by removing certain conflicts in terms of remuneration as well. The key issue is the way ASIC interprets that prioritising aspect of conflicts. The FPA code already addresses and with principles in respect to conflicts. It requires that you disclose those conflicts, and it requires that you continuously disclose those conflicts and indeed identify any new conflicts that may arise throughout your relationship with the client. In addition to that, the code consultation paper now introduces 9 new principles in respect to conflicts and the way in which you avoid those conflicts, manage those conflicts, and obtain informed consent for those conflicts.
A conflict of interest in a financial planning context is where the interest of the planner may in fact have a conflict with the interests of the client. That would be the classical definition of what a conflict of interest actually is. The sort of things that come up as conflicts of interest are potentially 2 clients that might be divorcing and have been a joint client previously. That typically often represents a conflict of interest. Where a financial planner works for a firm that's aligned to a product provider, there can be quite easily conflicts of interest there, or potentially where a client and an advisor are investing in the same or similar things that can cause conflict of interest as well. Within our business, we've actually worked to the FPA Code of Practice, and there is a requirement to identify and eliminate conflicts of interest. So in our fact find, we actually have a question for the advisor to ask and answer themselves. Are there any conflicts with this client, and if so, to note what they are, so that the practice can then make a decision about how to deal with that individual conflict. If we identify a conflict, we'll look at the possible issues, we'll look at the size of the conflict, the potential for a problem, and then we'll make a decision about whether we can manage that or whether we need to eliminate it, or in fact if the conflict is such that we can't deal with a particular client because of the conflict. We've had situations where conflicts haven't been manageable. Most of those have arisen through divorce, where 2 parties are at war with each other. They were both previously clients and we clearly couldn't act for both of them. So we've had to make a decision there that it wasn't appropriate there to act for both. We'd have to act for one and not the other. I think disclosing a conflict can be done in lots of different ways. I think that every effort should be made to eliminate conflicts where possible. There may be some that aren't possible to eliminate, and typically if an advisor is working for a practice that's part of a product manufacturing group, it won't be possible to eliminate all conflicts, but it will certainly be possible to manage and disclose clearly what those conflicts might be, so that clients can make an informed decision being aware of what the conflicts are. Yeah, I think in Australian financial planning, conflicts are inevitable. The way that the profession is structured, there will be conflicts. It's about how the manageable ones are eliminated, and those that can't be eliminated are managed and disclosed well and clearly, and clients are able to make informed decisions about what to do being aware of any conflict that does exist.
Advisors should be reviewing their business model right now. They should be reviewing their arrangements that they have in place in terms of their ownership structure, their licensee, their employer, and any referral arrangements they have in place, with the objective of identifying all possible conflicts that they have within their business. They should be categorising those. Once they've been able to identify all the conflicts that they have in respect to their business, then they're in a better position to then look at addressing how they will manage them and prioritise those conflicts in respect to the advice they provide to their clients from 1 July next year.